Welcome to the Hill Country Hustlers podcast. I'm your host, Zachary Green. Today I have a guest named Ross Dunagan. He is the owner of Flyin Diesel Performance and also a good friend. So I'm really happy to have him on, and we're going to figure out his story and some tips and probably learn some things. So here we go.
Excellent. Let's get it.
Yeah. If you'd like to start it, just tell us your background, where you're from, and maybe how you got into the business.
Yeah, so I'm Ross Dunagan. Lived here in Kerrville, Texas, basically my whole life. Moved here when I was 5 years old from Austin. Don't remember much about it. So grew up here in the Hill Country. Started Flyin Diesel, and now we're up to 10 or 11 employees, doing about $3 million a year, and rocking and rolling, man. It's the entrepreneur dream, I guess, in a sense. Totality. Obviously, it's got its good days and bad days, but overall, I mean, that's really all I've ever done is work for myself. Worked for my dad when I was 16. I mean, really started out when I was like 12, all the way to probably 17 or 18, and worked with him and basically ran my own crew and helped him run the business. So, working for family is different than working for somebody else. So it's literally, I mean, that's really all I've ever known. I worked for a guy in college for 2 years, and even at that, I was still kind of doing a side hustle for myself. So, it's kind of the quick overview of it. I mean, we can definitely deep dive into it.
Yeah,
wherever we need to. But yeah, I mean, just typical Hill Country boy. I'll tell you, I started out, couldn't ever have dreamt what the Hill Country has brought to us. I figured we'd just have a little podunk mom and pop shop, and here we are keeping up with some of the big dogs, even that are in the big cities. Some of the big city guys are running numbers we are just here in Texas Hill Country. So, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. So good to hear.
Would have never dreamed of it, but now it's here. And now it's just a grind to go bigger and better and faster and badder. That's about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, let's go back to like day one. What are some of those challenges you felt, whether I guess emotional or financial, starting out? What were some of the biggest hurdles?
Man, it's getting over your own fear. You put the fear in front of, and really it's just your own worries. You've got to learn to drop it, and drop the insecurities and drop what you think you believe. Because if you believe it, that's what's going to happen. But if you can believe it and dream big and open your mind up, and that's something that really didn't come to me from the beginning. It was more or less the reason why I jumped in was I'd noticed repair bills on my dad's company were kind of excessive, and me and some buddies were working on trucks at night. And so when we did that, I just kept getting more knowledge on how these trucks work and how they tick, and enjoyed it, and worked on some friends' trucks from there, and then their dad's trucks. And then, it just blew up. And so there was a point where I was coming home every weekend from college. I tried college. I went for 3 years or 3.5 years. I don't know. I was close to finishing. And it got to the point where the business was taking off to I had to make a decision, either finish college and try and do something after that, or go all in, Yeah. And I decided that college just wasn't for me, and needed to move on and pursue what was being put in front of me.
Yeah.
And so I took it. And yeah, it was scary. It really was. It's not easy. Now, I will tell you, I did have some help. My dad's shop was there. He had some tools, so it wasn't ground zero, but it was pretty close to ground zero. But in general, business and entrepreneurship, I tell everybody, you got to use the resources that are around you. Nobody starts from dead zero. You don't just wake up and go, "Yep, I just want to do this," and have nothing. You've got some type of person, some type about the industry. You've got a link, you've got a connection, you've got something. Don't be afraid to use it. You've got to use it to help leverage yourself to get going. Everybody I know we all started from ground zero, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, there was always that little inclination of, all right, I can maybe use this, or I can maybe use this buddy's office, or I can maybe use this to get myself rolling. Once I get rolling, paying back some rent, do something, right? Yeah. And so that's always there. But the risk, or not, I shouldn't say the risk, the insecurities and the scaredness and all that you put yourself in front of, that's where you think like, oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. Well, you say you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
But if you say you can, and you're right. Either way, you're right. You just got to figure out which right you want to take.
Yeah.
So that's kind of there from day one, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, I'm still what I would consider day one, you know, it's every day is a new challenge to try and grow, build. You're trying to figure out what you did wrong yesterday, what you did right yesterday, you know, and I say yesterday in a loose term, you know, that's 2-3 years ago, and you're shooting for 4 or 5 years in the future. So trying to figure out what's changing in the world. You know, obviously COVID was a huge deal. We knew the world before COVID, and we know the world after COVID now. Big major challenges in between all that. So yeah, I mean, let's dive as deep as you want, man. We can go all the way down to the Titanic.
That was great, man. You gave me a lot right there. I'm still thinking where I want to go with this.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good.
So you touched on it for a little bit. You said you got to use whatever resources you have, and I think that's something. You're right. Anybody is going to struggle with it. Maybe it's a little bit of pride, but they just don't want to tap into those resources right away. But
right,
it's huge.
Yeah, and what's the worst case? You ask and they say no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another door opens.
You ask your wife or your significant other if they want to go to dinner at this place, and they say no. I mean, it's the same concept. Mm-hmm. It's no is not no forever. No is no for right now. Mm-hmm. And you know that's another thing is you jump into this stuff, and the more you grow and the more you build yourself and continue to grow, you'll find out who's there and who's really not. You know, the people that were there for me when I first started, there's still quite a few that are around, but there's some that have fallen off. There's some that have turned. And that's the thing, you know, is usually the people that are willing to help you out up front, more than likely they're going to be there. You might outgrow them, but they're still going to be there. And something I heard from Andy Frizella the other day is, you know, he talks about, you know, you're going to lose these friends and whatnot. And I've heard that between multiple other podcasts and stuff that I try and train myself with and grow in myself. And he hit the nail on the head. Is like, just because I lose these friends, as far as losing them, doesn't mean I've lost their connection or lost love for them. I still love them. They still love me. We just might not be able to talk on the same level. Yeah. And that's okay. I still love some of them that I can't talk on the same level with anymore. Yeah. I still love them. I still go eat with them, have a beer with them, whatever the case is. Right. Yeah. But it's just, you know, I'm at a whole different new level, and they can't connect with that, and that's okay. And so you got to understand too that if you're going to take that leap, you know, they say it's lonely at the top. I'm nowhere near the top, and it's not lonely for me yet, but it is getting lonelier, and that's part of it. You know, you just start interconnecting with people. You start connecting with others in business that, you know, maybe have what you want, and you're trying to get to that point. And so that's some of that as well as losing those relationships. I shouldn't say losing friends, but you lose that connection, that relationship.
Changes the relationship.
Yeah. So that's part of it.
Yeah, that's a really cool one. I'm going to have to think about that one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me change the gears a little bit.
Yeah.
Sticking on relationships, how have relationships specific to the hill country kind of shaped your journey?
So the hill country is a whole different animal. And I say that in a broad term because you go to these big cities. I've networked with guys all over the country. You know, my brother, which obviously you and him are friends. His truck broke down any place he went, you know, for college. He'd call me up, hey, who do you know? And then, you know, I got to, how do you know all these people? Well, you know, we go to these networking events. I say they're networking events, right? Our distributors and stuff will put them on, and all different shops from the nation come around. So we're sitting there swapping stories about this customer and that customer and this truck and that truck, and this part failed, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And you end up making friendships, you know, and obviously these are guys you can lean on, and then you start building a good reputation and rapport with them. At the same time, you need that, because if my customer leaves or my brother leaves or whoever, and the truck breaks down, I got to know a good reputable person to call that I can send that customer, that family member to, knowing that they're going to be taken care of. Yeah. And taken care of properly, because somebody can just patch something up and send it down the road. You want to make sure that it's going to be right up to your own standard. And so we interconnect with these people and build it up from there. And yeah, that's how all that works. So I'm able to push him around to different shops and places. And he's like, man, I don't get how you do it. I'm like, you just got to, and that's the thing too, is you build a relationship there and then you leave, you still got to connect up with them, because if not, they're going to forget about you. Yeah. So you still got to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But back, kind of back to the hill country is it's different. These guys around here are loyal, which I love. I've built business on loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
I have turned down discounts, major discounts, because of loyalty. It's somebody's competitors trying to come in, and it's like, I'm sorry, I'm loyal to this guy. He hasn't turned me away. He hasn't done me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you might be cheaper, but I know if I got to call this guy, he's going to take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say the same. If something goes wrong, I'll give you a chance. But until something goes wrong, I'm loyal to this guy.
Yeah.
And so, in that sense, you don't find that in bigger cities. You don't find reps. My Napa rep here, I have an issue with a part. They're on it. Big
Mm-hmm.
cities, he's got, I don't know how many shops that they got to deal with. It's part in, part out, part in, part out. I don't care. They may deal with the top 5 people, but they're not gonna worry about the little guy or littler guy, who, however it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it goes the same for the customers too. The customers speak, and if you do them wrong, everybody's going to find out in a small town.
Mm-hmm.
You do them right, everybody's going to find out eventually.
Yeah.
For some odd reason, the bad word spread faster than the good word. But yeah, it's kind of going back to what we talked about just very first beginning is I never thought that I could make the amount of money that we're making, gross and profit wise, in the hill country. But it's because the hill country is such a tight knit area. You don't. We pull people from all around, but if I take away the core here, if I screw up something in the core won't hold anymore.
Yeah.
And I have to rely on that core and rely on the trust and the goodwill and everything else that we do to hold the company together and make sure that we take care of everybody around here and we all take care of one another.
Yeah.
So yeah, the hill country is eye opening because it's not that way everywhere. And not even in small towns, just some other small towns.
Yeah.
Kerrville is odd because it's, you talk to other business owners or other people way out west or up north, like I said, the interconnections that I have all over the country. And yeah, they may have a small town, but it's nobody takes care of them like people take care of us here. So that's awesome.
Yeah, our community is awesome.
It
they
is.
Really are loyal, and everybody seems to take a lot of pride in it.
Yeah, they do. They do.
It's great. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, let me ask you something else.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of now running your own shop? Or I guess this is all you've really known for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, man, there's a bunch. That's kind of a loaded question because there's more than one. To summarize that up around, it would probably have to be just the endless goal possibilities that I can set for myself.
Yeah.
And the sky is literally the limit. Whatever I want it to be. It's just going to take the time, effort, energy, and passion and everything else put into it to make it happen.
Yeah.
So it's how bad do you want it? And so that's the favorite part, is that there's no limit for me. I can make it as big as I want. I can kill it as fast as I want. I can blow it up as fast as I want. It just depends on myself, my leadership, and then pass down to my guys, their leadership, and continuing down. So it all starts with me, and then from there it has to go downhill. I just got to make sure what I'm passing downhill is the right and correct information.
Yeah.
And then rely on the leadership below me to be able to take my vision and put it into reality as well. Because I can't do it without a team.
Yeah.
I can only push as far as I can, and I'm full throttle right now. I walked into the studio sweaty and just got done washing my hands, being oily, so it's not the glorious, glamorous, I just call and check on the shop and make sure the guys are doing what they're supposed to do. I'm right there with them. So eventually one day when we grow, hopefully I'll get to that point where I can call and check in and doing some more stuff. But right now, yeah, I'm a grease monkey just as much as the guy next to me. So, I guess if you're flipping that question, that's kind of the downfall of it is, you are the fall guy. You're the guy that everybody looks to.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a positive and negative all in one. There's days where it's
person.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. There's days it's good and there's days it's bad. But you got to deal with it and you got to roll with it. The freedom's nice, but then also there's not freedom. So it's just generally it's going to be the endless possibilities that you could make it.
Yeah.
So
I love that. That's a good way to put it. All right. So you touched on managing people for a second there, but how do you pass your vision down to people effectively? And how do you kind of monitor and make sure it's passing down effectively without micromanaging?
yeah, that's one that I'm still learning, to be honest with you. And it's an ever evolving game, but I think some have a better grasp on it than others. I personally feel like I'm still getting a grasp on it. When you go from excuse me, when you go from breaking $1 million in gross sales, it's a big deal, but it also comes with massive change. And then you hit what we would call another break point of about $3 million. That's where leadership kind of starts changing as well. So we're bouncing that rev limiter right now of changing that. So trying to make that happen, I'm personally right in the middle of a massive learning curve, trying to understand myself, how I can be a better leader, how I come across, and how I can be better at that. So yeah, trying to manage that, I think, is somewhat of a two-way street too. You got to make sure that you're communicating to your guys or your gals or whoever it's going to be, but also make sure that they are going to be willing enough. I think willing is probably the right word, to give you criticism or feedback or constructive criticism back, to make sure that, so I might have said something that came across completely the wrong way, meant it in one way, came across another. I got to know that that person is willing to say, hey, you may have meant it this way, maybe you didn't, but if you didn't, here's how it came across.
Yeah.
And you got to learn to know that your old self and the old things you did, the old ways, you can't do anymore. So I feel like, me personally, I'm in that change right now of trying to get new ways, trying to be a better leader, trying to develop myself to help the business grow, because the business is only going to grow as well as my leadership skills are. There's a good book, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. It's really good when it talks about the lid, and the lid is your capability. So if you're on a scale of 1 to 10 and your leadership's a 6, there's no way that you're going to go past a 6. None of your people below you can go past a 6. You can hire that. The problem is, you hire a 7 or an 8, they're not going to work for a 6. They're not going to listen to somebody that's a 6 if they're higher. And so you have to continuously keep developing yourself and get yourself up there. And so the people below you, then you can teach and help lead them up to that point. So it's a constant learning curve, though. If you stop learning, it doesn't matter if you're 90 years old. If you stop learning leadership and how, obviously the 1800s to today, the leadership's completely different. Leadership's completely different from 2020 to 2025. I was just talking to one of my guys today that when I started out in 2012 or 2013, I've noticed that the owner, boss, however you want to look at it, person, and the employee, you used to be able to, hey, go get that job done, get this done, and what I say goes, that's it. And the boss had the upper hand, the employee was lower. It has literally flip-flopped. The employee now has the upper hand. You're going to pay me this. This is what I need. This is, my requirements, or I'm not working for you. Go find somebody else. Well, everybody's in a struggle to try and find people right now. Skilled quality technicians are not a dime a dozen by any means. I mean, it's a needle in a haystack, really. It's what you're looking for. So if you find that, now you've got to make sure that you are on top of what they need, taking care of their needs, making sure they're comfortable, and going the extra mile to make sure that these guys don't get one better job offer, two, just up and leave you because you're not taking care of them. And so it is literally flipped, and it's flipped in a good way, because it's also taking the owner, and they're not just raking in profits and not caring, not giving back. You've got to be able to give back, because these people are what support your livelihood, support the business. And me, without my business, I'm nobody. I built it from the ground up. Yes, I had help. And yes, these guys rely on me for to be able to put food on their table. But at the same time, I rely on them for the same thing. And so I've got to make sure I'm taking care of them just like they're helping take care of me. It's got to be a two-way street. And that's what it's turning into now, is definitely a two-way street.
Mm-hmm. So how do you see that evolving in the next 5 to 10 years, or developing more?
In what role?
I guess the relationship. Do you see that going more towards employee being kind of the one with the strong arm, and
Oh, it's already there. It's 100% already there.
just not turning back now?
Yeah, no, there's no turning back, because I mean, you think about it, you've got a bunch of businesses out there, right? But the employee to business ratio, the employee is tenfold.
Mm-hmm.
There's way more employees than there are owners.
Yeah.
And you can't look at owners as LLCs. You can't go, okay, well, there's 20 million LLCs out there. Well, then there's 20 million business owners. No, I mean, their business owner can have as many LLCs as they want.
Mm-hmm.
So, that ratio is massively flip-flopped. And so it's kind of the same thing like you see with these unions per se. It's not unionized by any means. It's union wants something, they all flip until they get what they want. And they usually get what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the business can't survive without them.
Yeah.
And so now the just normal general employee has flipped to that. And most people, or the older generation, baby boomers, kind of don't like that, which a lot of them are getting out of business for that reason. Not just that reason, obviously they're aging out and things, but there's that going on. And so these new owners are coming in and realizing, hey, I got to give back to these guys. If I don't give back, I'm not going to, you only get in or get out what you put in. So if you're not putting in to your employees, helping them, growing them, developing them, what point is there for them to stay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anybody can go work at McDonald's and flip burgers, and guess what? McDonald's still has a growth plan too.
Yeah.
You can grow in McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to make sure you got a growth plan. Not a lot of people want to stay stagnant anymore. Mm-hmm. So, and we're noticing that, we put out hiring ads and recruiting people, and when they call us, they're like, okay, cool. What's your career path look like? It's not just what's the pay, it's what's the career path look like. I want to make sure that if I'm going to hang on with you guys, that I have opportunity to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, really, you kind of want those people too, though.
Oh, absolutely. I don't want somebody that's not gonna want to grow. They just, I just want to be a lube tech. Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. I can use you, but I guarantee in 2 or 3 years at max, you're probably going to jump ship.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be happy. You want to make sure that you can grow, and I want you to go from a lube tech to a C tech to a B tech to, possibly running the shop one day, or, hey, I find out that your sales skills are way better. I may have a different position for you, but I want you to be able to grow. If you're not willing to grow, I don't want you. Yeah. Because I want to grow, and I can't grow if you don't want to grow. I can't have guys that just want to stay down here if I want to get up here. Yeah. If I'm on level 100 and they're on level 1, well, if you don't want to go to level 2, then get out. Basically, I just, I don't want to be rude about it, but yeah, it's just, that's the only way to grow, man. And people have to grow with you. Yeah. So.
Cool. So with the business growing and as fast as it did for you, did you ever feel like it outgrew your planning at certain points?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It sure did.
So how did you handle that? And then second part, how do you now readjust your planning to make sure you stay on top of those kind of things?
I mean, how we dealt with it is just grab another gear. It's the only thing you can do, and hold on. But communication is going to be the massive key to that. And some of that I learned the hard way, and some of it I figured out pretty quick that that's the only way to keep a customer happy. If you're down on technicians, right? In my automotive world, right? It's the same in any industry, but if you're down on people and your work is good, your customer service skills are good, your sales are good, right? It's just your production line is backed up because you don't have the amount of people in your production line. Communication at that point comes in clutch. That is your number one. It doesn't matter if everything's terrible. If communication's good, you're probably going to be okay. Communication's key. If I call a customer and say, hey, Mr. Customer, I'm sorry, this part didn't show up, or this person's out sick, whatever, right? Your vehicle is now scheduled to be done on this day. That's better than them expecting it to be done 2 days before then, showing up and it's not fixed. Yeah. So you got to call them and tell them what's going on, keep them updated. And then afterwards, keep the follow-up and keep it all updated. So that's It's a lot, and we were majorly understaffed for 2.5, 3 years, and we finally started getting staffed up to where we were able to get things out faster. Now the thing is trying to make sure that we can keep up the workflow and then produce on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've kind of found our balance, and a lot of learning and seminars and stuff I've gone to. Another thing that we figured out is a key ratio for employees. What they call it, revenue per employee, RPE. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's what I was looking for, RPE. So our RPE, a good rule of thumb for any business is anywhere from 250 to 500,000 per employee. Doesn't matter if it's a janitor, you still count them in there because the janitor has a certain role to do. Yeah, they're not just a janitor. They keep things clean, organized, and everything, so that your development team, process team, whatever team you have, can work in a clean environment. Things aren't trashed and they're tripping over things, and on down the line. So everybody has their own key role to do. So our break point really is about 300,000. So we've got, let's call it 10 guys, right? We do 3 million. We know that's our break point. If we start pushing at 320, 330, 340 per employee, we're going to burn them out. So at that point, hey, we've got to get back down to the 300 range. Means we need to add an employee. We need to add a key role somewhere in the business to help the process flow. And so that's something we've learned. Every business is different, but it ranges anywhere from about 250 to 500,000. So if your business is doing 500,000 in revenue and you have 2 people, well, then you're 250. Well, guess what? You can probably, between the 2 of you, ramp that up. Myself and my partner, when we were starting out, there was just 2 of us, and we ended up at $1 million ourselves, just by ourselves. And then we added another person in, and we got to about 1.3, somewhere around there, and just we've continuously blown it up. I didn't know any of these key ratios. I didn't know this stuff until some seminars and learning and trying to develop myself. And understanding, what we were talking about. I have to develop myself to keep going, keep growing, keep the business up, everything else. And so when I started figuring these numbers out through this, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Now I've got kind of a gauge I can look at, right? Okay, well, my gauge is bouncing off the limiter over here. Okay, well, what do I do to get that back in check? And so key ratios in any business is a huge factor. And that's where you can have a plan, right? But the ratios are going to tell you how that plan is going to go. So then you can adjust from those ratios and kind of look at that and go, okay, I need to make a tweak here. I need to tweak this, or, hey, I have a major problem over here. Let's take care of that. And so we can plan all we want, but now, like, this year we've had some turnover, employee turnovers, guys that didn't like what they were doing or found a better, different career. Nobody's just left just to leave. It's oil field or police academy or something like that. Something different. And so we're learning to adjust with that right now, and we're moving some things around. I'm back out in the shop, so that happens. But you can have a plan all day long, but to execute on that plan, you've got to watch these key ratios to make sure that plan's going at about on track.
Yeah, that is awesome. I love hearing the word key ratios brought up on my podcast.
Right.
Thank you. And that was also, you mentioned communication. That was the second time we've heard that. We heard it before from Starkey, and he had pretty much the same thing to say.
Yeah, communication
is key with the customer.
And not only customer, it's your inner workings with your employees. I mean, all the way down to janitorial stuff. I say janitorial like it's bad. I mean, those guys are awesome, because without them, my shop would be a wreck. So it's one of those things where communication is key to those guys, so they don't feel like they're just another number either. You got to communicate with them, let them know what's going on. Okay, I need this job done by this date because X, Y, Z, A, B, and C, not just Y or Z. I need it done because it's got to be out. Well, no, I need it done because this customer is leaving on vacation. We told them this part happened, and then this one got delayed. So unfortunately that got delayed. I can't do anything about that. So we got to do this because I told them this. We worked with them already about moving this date, and moving his projection date to leave on his trip. And you tell him all that and it makes sense. But if I tell you, go get it done, and it has to be done by this date, why? Oh, because I said so. That doesn't make anybody feel like they want to get their butt in gear and go do it.
Yeah.
No. But if they know why, if they have the why and understand the why, then makes you want to go do it a lot more.
Yeah.
And so we've learned that as well, because again, development myself, I've had to figure that out. Well, I don't want to go do that because you said that. Yeah. Okay. Well, what if I told it to you this way? Well, that makes a lot more sense. Now, and I see why you need me to get that done now. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, guess what? He probably gave me 98% of the information instead of the 5% or whatever it is over here. So now that you have that understanding, you can go act upon that. Not only can you act upon it, but you also know that, like in our industry, something goes wrong in the middle of that. Well, guess what? Now we got to make that full circle back again. Maybe it can't be done by the second date we promised, but because something happened. But now he knows, or she knows, that this problem has occurred. Here's the timeline. Here's what happened. Okay, now he knows or she knows that it can't happen. Let's make it back around to the guy so they can go back and communicate with the customer.
Yeah.
And then there's massive forms of communication too. So there's texting, emailing, phone calls. Oh, we don't Zoom or anything, but we keep up with customers in 3 or 4 different ways. So we're constantly making sure that we're keeping up with them. And then not only that, we have an automated system that keeps up with them as well. Communication has changed the game. Yeah. Massively.
And it's huge. It's major importance. So
yeah,
I'm glad we're touching on that.
Yeah. I mean, that's all. If you got anything out of this and you're trying to start a business or you're in the middle of building one, I can coach you all the way to 3 million. I can promise you that. I hadn't broke that ceiling yet, but I can coach you to that point. Communication has been a major factor. If you just learn to communicate more, take one thing away from this podcast, communication. Over communicate. If you over communicate, that's way better than you under communicating. That's the biggest thing. One of my highlights. We'll kick back to that one. That's probably, if I get really deep into it, that's one of my deals. I get the giving back part. What I can do. Yeah. Once I know my bills are paid, and once I know my family's okay, which that's always number one priority. Doesn't matter who you are, what you do. I don't care what's going on. Make sure your family's 100% priority. Yeah. You take care of them first. Once that's taken care of, once your bills are taken care of, put your little side fund money away, right? Do what you need to. Let's kick all the way back to the front of the podcast, right? About having those resources. Well, if you're a friend of mine, right, you got a vision. I'm a resource. All you gotta do is ask. If I got it, I'll help you. Yeah. But then if I can help you, and then you can help your family, and then you get back on your feet, and then you start making a little money, and then we both start making a little money. And well, then guess what? Let's go help the next guy. Let's go do that. That's the joy. That's the excitement. That's the building.
Yeah. Building a community.
Yeah. Building. Yeah. You're building your own community, right? Yeah, for sure. But then you're helping the community.
Yeah.
You're helping other people. You're helping
into it.
Yeah. And people don't look at it that way sometimes. Yeah. Oh, the guy with the private jet, he's up there burning $30,000 in fuel an hour, and he's doing this and doing that. Well, how many jobs did that guy create? How many, he's got to land, right? He's got to come down. He's got the pilot. He bought a plane from these guys that are making planes. Well, guess what? If he ain't buying a plane and other people aren't buying a plane, well, then the people who work at Gulfstream or wherever, they don't have a job. So not only is he doing that, he's keeping the economy rolling. He's keeping people busy. He's doing all this kind of stuff, and it's trickling down, right? And then he keeps giving back. I guarantee you, the amount of donations. I know several multimillionaires, and I know 2 billionaires, and the money that these guys give back is insane, absolutely insane. And you want to know why they do it? It's all the same answer. It's just the joy. They love giving back. Yeah, they love the fact of giving back because they've built up so much, and the people that gave to them, and now they give back. It's different from somebody that just inherited the money, right? And they just inherited it. They care. Oh, my dad did this. My grandpa did that. So we'll just write a check over there. No, it's different from the guys that built it. I think personally. Yeah. But they're driven. We're wired differently. So I'm sure you are too. You're wired different. Like you want to build for yourself. You want to do things for yourself. Yeah. And I'm not wired to go get a 9 to 5 and go home, you know. I mean,
Mhm.
I'd love that if I could make a whole boatload of money, but I also am limited
Yeah.
that way. I'm not limited where I'm at right now in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Wow. Well, that's great. We've got freedom, communication, and key ratios today.
man, I mean, however long you want to roll with this thing, we can. This is one of my passions is talking business, talking about the struggles, but also the joys of it.
Yeah.
And like I said, it gets you in all sorts of different areas. You know, I never knew I'd be doing what I'm doing. You know,
Mhm.
I thought for the longest time like I was just going to be a mechanic. I'm not a mechanic. I yes, I can do the mechanic stuff, but I'm not a mechanic.
Mhm. More than that now.
Yeah, I'm way more than that. And I'm way more useful than just wrenching, but that is also my livelihood and it's my guy's livelihood and everything else. So when they need me, I'm there. And I
Mhm.
will always be there. As long as my 2 legs and body will allow me to get out of bed, I'm there.
Yeah.
So I've been there sick. I've been there down. I've been there happy. I've been there sad. I've been there whatever. Yeah, I've still show up to work. Still got
Mhm.
to make sure that things roll in motion, you know, and that's a struggle is trying to figure out how to push that down the line, right? That's everybody's biggest struggle.
Yeah.
But if you can figure that out, I mean, you just keep rolling, and that's what I want to do. You know, eventually dive a lot more into real estate. I've got some real estate stuff. I've got some rental stuff off of real estate. Hell, we've got a tool truck. My wife owns a home plan business. I mean, and it's just, but the freedoms that this has allowed me to do and be able to do this stuff and help my wife, help my family.
Mhm.
Um, help my brother, you know, it's,
Yeah.
he just got out of PT school, so he just started his job, but I'm
Mhm.
able to do that. That's what brings me joy.
Yeah.
That's the fun. And that's, or
No,
it's the joy. That's the, man, that was one of the coolest things. I don't get to see it much anymore, but you know, you finish a customer's truck, especially now, you don't see it nearly as much as we did in the performance days. You know, there's a whole different EPA topic, right, with that.
Mhm.
But the performance diesel stuff, man, it was cool. Somebody show up with a truck and drop you a boatload of cash, and then you soup it up, and the smile on their face when they took off. You know, it's just they go for a ride, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is awesome.
Mhm.
Of course, there's a few choice words in between here and there, but yeah, you know, it's just that was cool. It wasn't about the money. It
Mhm.
really wasn't about the money at that point. It was about seeing the joy in their face.
Mhm.
You know, they worked hard for that money. They worked hard. None of these guys are just coming in dropping cash because they don't, you know, it's just their play toy truck. It's rare. We've had it, but it's stupid rare. It's harder in cash. These guys going and they were excited.
Mhm.
And it was so cool to see. And it's still there a little bit, but you know, a lot of it now is just like, cool, you got my truck back up and going. Cool. I need it for work. All right. Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
So you got to go make some more money.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's joy. Joy, I think, would be a really good word for that. That's why you should be an entrepreneur if you have that drive and have that spirit.
Mhm.
I've heard that it's for everybody from a lot of top guys. Can't say I believe it right now. Maybe if I get to their level one day, I could see it. Again, that's constantly developing and learning. You're never gonna, if you stop, you're dead. So I have learned now to say that I may or may not believe it at that point, but it's not never.
Mhm.
You know, I may hit their level one day and be like, oh, yeah, I see what they're talking about. I just didn't know what I was doing back then. Now I know what I'm doing, and if I can build that roadmap for others, yeah, anybody can do it.
Mhm.
But you got to have the willing and drive and uh, I don't know you may have the right word for this, but like the gut to do it and develop and change and know that the person you're going to be or you were yesterday, you're not going to be tomorrow.
Mhm.
So I know there's kind of a word for that, but yeah,
I know what you're saying. And that's kind of a scary one, knowing that you have to change.
yeah, you have to
You
change.
will,
Yeah,
or
I
you
mean,
won't make it.
no, you won't, and your mental state is the biggest thing
Mm-hmm.
because it'll take a toll on you. I noticed that I was getting fat, out of shape, and I wasn't caring much about what was going on anymore, and One day I just looked in the mirror and was like, all right, you got to flip, dude. Been working out for the past 3 years. You lost 40 pounds. Feel a lot better. My mental status is 110 times better. I'm way more focused, but granted, I also had blood work done and we found some issues and took care of them, which may have played a small factor in that. But I say small because it's all mind over matter. Things they teach you in football and the coaches yell at you and stuff like that. And just like, it's mind over matter and this and that. Well, I was dumb and naive back then. Oh, whatever, you can lift that. You can do this. You just gotta put your mind to it. And it's like, I can't lift that. Now it's just like, okay, maybe I can't lift it right now, but I can one day. And then you're going to make yourself do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And no, they were right. It's just, I had to mature. It wasn't them. They weren't wrong. It was me. I had to mature. And so it's that'll always be an evolving deal. So
that's a funny example you use. I don't know about everybody has that thought, but I definitely have the same experience where looking back, it's like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Get
exactly.
out of my ear, dude. I can't lift this.
Yeah,
like,
cool. You're standing there, football helmet on, sweating your butt off, and it's just like guys just yelling in your ear constantly. You're just like, I just want to go home and just get me out of here. I'm tired of practice, and and then you reflect back on it.
Yeah,
you're like, huh. Maybe he was right.
I have some quotes in my head from coaches. And the moment I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And now I carry them with me.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually a really good point.
Exactly. And it's just where it's going to apply to you in life. And are you willing to dig down and notice your flaws and fix your flaws and take care of it and move on and understand that it's not forever. You're just going to have to, and different people have different challenges, but doesn't define who you are. You got to get up every day and you got to fight. Life's going to knock you down. You just got to get up and fight. And if you're done fighting, you're dead.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty blunt when it comes to that way. There's no other way you can be. So,
well, I think that's a great way to end it. If you're not growing, you're dying.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. Well, thanks for coming by. Y'all stop and give FDP a look if you haven't, or just check them out online. They're a great company. They do great work, and they care about the joy that they bring people in the community. So
yeah, we're going to share this on all of our social medias too. So we'll be happy to shoot you guys a shout out there. I mean, we've got a decent following. So
sweet.
And it's networking. It is what it is, right? It's who knows? Somebody watching this podcast may bring a truck, and vice versa. Somebody listening to this podcast might go, "Man, I just want to be an entrepreneur one day." Pray for you and good luck and everything else like that. And get you a coach too. Coaches are great. Make sure. I guess if I had to leave somebody, with some advice, is make sure that what advice you're going to get from somebody, as they've done it. Don't listen to a life coach or a financial coach or this or that hasn't done it. I like I said earlier in the podcast, I can only coach you to a $3 million business right now. I'm not going to tell you I can build you a $10 million business because I haven't done it. So if I haven't done it, how can I coach you to do it? So make sure if you're going to get life advice or coaching advice, business advice, whatever that may be, make sure that the person has done it.
Yeah.
Make sure they have gone where you want to go. So the advice that you get is going to be good advice and not just off the wall. Like, oh, well, so-and-so Elon Musk did this, so this is what you need to do. Well, no, his business is, he may have had 10 other issues to get to that point. Well, does that guy know those issues? No, he doesn't know any of those issues.
And that's what it is.
Yeah.
The millions of little things that go wrong.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get those reading a Wikipedia page of an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So if you're going to get a coach, make sure that they're going to, that they've done it. And then they also will hold you accountable. Yeah. So.
Oh, awesome.
Well, buddy, I appreciate it.
Thanks for stopping by. Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime. I'd be glad to do these.
We're going to do episode 2 soon.
You tell me when, man. I'm in.
All right. We'll do.
I'm in. I love it.
All righty. Well, thanks for stopping by, man. Thank y'all for watching. Y'all have a good day.
Y'all too. Thank you.